Hi everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, and that is Connor. We are going to talk about Lethal Weapon, Season 1, Episode 1. It's simply the pilot, and obviously we'll start spoiler-free to discuss it, just in case you want to see how it is. Although, I will warn you, there might be some spoilers for the movies, a little bit, here or there.
Although, if you haven't seen them by now,
You should go see them, first of all. Go see Lethal Weapon 1, 2, 3, 4, especially 1 and 2. They're really good. Obviously, the movies are by Shane Black. He wrote them. Richard Donner directed them. So a lot of good reasons to go see those movies. But we're going to talk about the TV show because Fox, in their infinite wisdom, decided to do a TV reboot of Lethal Weapon.
it's all the rage right now. TV reboots of old movies.
We've got another one from Fox this week.
And we had one not long ago earlier in the year. Although I don't think that was from Fox.
Are you thinking about Rush Hour?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was CBS. Yeah.
CBS. Yeah.
So if you don't know Lethal Weapon, and you really should, but if you don't, the whole idea is that it was kind of the originator of the buddy cop. I'm not going to say it's the first buddy cop story ever, because it's probably definitely not, but it's the one that made it a famous thing that lots of people tried to do. And Fox in particular fill a lot of their TV schedule with twists on the buddy cop formula. So it's kind of almost ironic that they are doing
It's
this.
almost weirdly refreshing to see them play a straight buddy cop thing instead of having a twist on it.
Well, arguably there was a twist on the formula, even with Lethal Weapon, and the twist is that one of them's kind of suicidal.
Sure, but I mean, to the degree that Fox tends to have their shows with the twist, this is pretty straight.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, it's going to be impossible not to compare it to the movie, because a lot of my thoughts as I was watching this was, well, one, this makes me really want to watch the movie instead, and two, I kept thinking about how things were different and how things were supposed to be the same but weren't because of X, Y, and Z. I think the first thing we have to talk about with this is that the actors obviously are not Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, and honestly, it suffers the most because of that.
Yeah, and I honestly don't think it's particularly either of their fault. It's
I
such a hard thing to live up to.
I agree, especially with the who's the actor playing Riggs? You've got it sitting there,
Clayne Crawford.
Clayne Crawford. Especially with him, I feel like he's doing the best he can, and unfortunately, it's hard to escape from my memory of what Mel Gibson did and how different that performance was. And I can see him trying to emulate it and trying to do the same sort of little like crazy tics that he had and things, and it's not quite working. Here it feels a lot more. Like I don't really buy in this entire episode. I do not buy that he is actually suicidal.
No, I don't either.
He
That is
feels
the
far
biggest problem.
too. Because I think Mel Gibson in the movie, he does a great job of being funny, but at the same time there's like this sadness and this
It's
edge
very
to
very
him.
morbid about
Yeah,
his humor as well.
yeah, it's a very morbid humor, whereas this feels more toned down for TV. And as a result, it doesn't really feel like he's ever that suicidal. It just feels like, oh, they're talking about it as if he is, but I don't believe it for a second.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Um, Whereas I will criticise Damon Wayans a little bit. I do think he's a little bit miscast.
Yeah,
Every time Damon Wayans in this episode tries to act like a cop, I don't buy it.
I see what you mean. Yeah,
His voice does not lend itself to being a cop. He sounds like he's still a comedian, and it's not. It's not right for Murtaugh because Murtaugh is meant to be the straight man. He's meant to be the man who's cynical and, you know,
yeah, I get it. It's very much he's still kind of a bit too jokey, kind of calm. Like when I say calm, I mean like relaxed.
yeah.
Where he's not got any sort of like Murtaugh's kind of like a bit on edge.
Whereas Danny Glover, I almost said Donald Glover there. I almost said it, and I
Yeah,
caught myself. Whereas Danny Glover in the movie, like he was really funny, but he was funny because he was like reacting to the crazy stuff that was going on, and he was like, "I don't have to put up with this crap. What's going on? I'm too old for this shit." And the funny thing is that he can't say that. He almost says it in this,
I did.
and
I
he
was
can't.
I was wondering before I watched this, like, how are they going to do this? Because it's just not the same really
It's
without
well,
it, is it?
it's the same with Die Hard when they went PG-13 and they couldn't say his catchphrase.
Yeah, and it's the same problem.
Yeah, they have to almost say it and then cut him off, and it's like,
It just makes it feel forced.
It does. It feels forced. I think the other problem with Murtaugh's character in this is more so than Riggs. Is that not only is the actor kind of miscast, more so is that I think Murtaugh's written differently in this. There's more differences in how they write the character in this compared to the movies. The first one being is when they get to the crime scene, they have the whole introduction where they have the bank heist, which is meant to emulate the. Well, it depends which version of the movie you watched. In the extended cut, there's actually two scenes where they introduce Riggs and show that he's willing to walk into like an insane situation with danger. In the theatrical cut, it's only the drug dealers at the tree place, where they're selling Christmas trees. Yeah. Whereas in the extended cut, there's also a scene at a school where there's a sniper, and he walks in.
Don't think I've ever seen that one.
Yeah, it's an extended cut. It's most of the I think the DVD versions had that extended cut. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with that scene or the extended cut or the extended scenes in that version. The only problem is like I just said, it introduces Riggs twice.
Yeah,
it's really weird.
They didn't compensate for it.
They didn't take the other scene out. They just sort of added everything back in. But so they kind of do that at the start of this, where they have him going to this bank heist, and he just sort of talks his way into it and takes everyone out, and he walks out eating pizza. Which that as well, even though Riggs did do that kind of thing, it felt more like wink wink, this is a fun TV show, my character's eating pizza.
It did. Well, there's a bomb about to go off, and he knows there's a bomb about to go off, so it's all cool.
Yeah. It lacks the edge. There was an edge to Lethal Weapon, which, don't get me wrong, the movies kind of lost that as they went on as well, because he got less. Because obviously after the first movie, he's found his place again, and he's not suicidal anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas, and obviously that'll happen in a TV show as well, but it started with this edge. There was a definite edge at the start of that series, and I think that's kind of lost here. But yeah, so like I was saying, Murtaugh, when they get to the first crime scene after that, and they've got like a dead body, and they're investigating it. He wants to just write it off right away. He's like, oh, it looks like a suicide, and he's ready to tick it off. He's like,
yeah, like in the movie, you always get the impression that he's a good cop.
Yeah,
still.
Yeah. Whereas in here, he's ready to just write this off as a suicide immediately.
He just feels lazy.
Yeah. Whereas Riggs is like, no. There's signs here that point to this looks like a suicide. And again, they're taking kind of beats from the movie because it starts with an apparent suicide, and the whole idea that the villain is related to a security company again is kind of taken from the movie, but it's not the exact same.
I appreciate that it's not exactly the same though. I feel like Rush Hour particularly suffered from that. Whereas this at least it's making an effort.
One big difference from the movie as well is that we actually see a scene before Riggs' wife dies. Because in the movie,
right at the start, she's
already dead. And that's not a spoiler, that's just the premise of the show, is that's why he's suicidal, because his wife died.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, we actually get a scene where she's alive, and we see the moment where he's in the hospital and he finds out. Actually, the music that plays there, what's that from? What's that music from?
Oh, it was annoying me as well. It's a really good song.
Yeah, because it plays then and it plays later on in the episode during the climax.
Yeah, let me see if I can find the song.
I tried to find it myself on TuneFind after I finished, but I couldn't.
It's the song's "Can't You See." That's what it's called.
Right.
It's by the Marshall Tucker Band. Sorry.
Yeah. It's a good song. I like the song.
What it's been in. There's been something big.
Oh, it's been in other stuff, yeah.
But there's something particularly that makes you think of, something particular.
Because as soon as it started playing, I'm like, wait a minute, that's from something else. But yeah, so that was kind of my main. I want to say actually before we keep going, I didn't hate the episode. It wasn't terrible. Like I was kind of getting into it expecting Rush Hour again and expecting, just.
Nah, this was far better than Rush Hour was.
But at the same time, I didn't really like it either. Because again, it does things from the movie. They have the dinner scene where Riggs is over at Murtaugh's house with Murtaugh's family. And there's an awkward moment where he kind of encourages the kid to do something bad. And in the movie, it was much more subtle. But here they actually just talk about doing drugs for like a good minute. And it's like really on the nose.
Yeah.
It takes away from the subtlety a little bit, which was kind of a shame. And it felt like someone watched the movie, looked at what the main ingredients were, but didn't fully understand why it worked, and just kind of put them into an episode.
Yeah, but like I said, it's not awful. It's easy watching.
It is easy watching. It wasn't like painful to get through. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing that if it was on, I wouldn't turn over the channel. Like, yeah, sure.
But it is definitely not appointment viewing. It's not something that you go out
It's
of your
not.
way to watch at all.
It isn't.
Um,
No. But
another big
it's you know.
another big difference from the movie is the captain of the police station. You know
Yeah,
that
yeah,
precinct. Here, I am almost convinced he's going to be a villain. He seems so smarmy, whereas
yeah.
whereas whereas in the movies he's actually a nice guy he's tough but he's fair and you can tell they respect him.
Mm.
So that's another big difference. Also, the movie didn't have a subplot where Murtaugh was trying to get a blowjob.
No, it did not.
For the duration of the film, and I thought that was also a bit forced. It felt like I don't know. It was like, oh, this will be funny, you
It,
know?
it did feel like, oh, we need a comedy beat here.
Yeah, that's what it felt like a forced comedy. But you're right.
There was a few of those throughout actually. Like it tended to be Murtaugh's jokes every so often. They tend to feel like we needed a forced comedy beat
Like
here.
sliding down the chair in the captain's office, which just felt like this isn't Lethal Weapon. This is slapstick.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly the ones.
Yeah, yeah, I felt that quite a few times.
I think they're trying to capitalize on Damon Wayans there, but it doesn't work for the character.
Yeah, he and I don't dislike Damon Wayans. I think he's done some fine comedy in the past, but I don't think he's. I think Danny Glover worked because he was this, cynical old man who was in. Because they even like I said about them taking things from the movie, but like not understanding how to be subtle about it and like making it bigger. They actually start him off with, oh, he already had a heart attack and he has to watch his heart rate. Because in the movie, like there's a whole running thing where he's old, and I think in like the third movie he is taking medication for his like heart
Mm.
because he's too much stress. He's getting older. His blood pressure's getting a bit higher and so on. But here it's like no, he had a heart attack. He's got a giant scar down his chest where they had to perform surgery.
He's got an Apple Watch telling him his heartbeat,
He's
heart
got an
rate.
Apple
Yeah,
Watch telling him his heart rate. Yeah, it all feels like, oh, we're just going to make everything bigger and obvious rather
yeah,
than and as a result it feels at the same time like it's missing the edge of the original movie, but it's forcing all the other elements that worked because they were subtle.
yeah, definitely. Like, I will say I enjoyed it far more than I thought I was going to. It was all right, but it was mostly the actors that were the biggest problem. I think. Like, and again, I don't think either of them are that bad. It's just miscast for the role, and it's a lot to live up to.
Yeah, I think with Riggs it's a lot to live up to, and not that not that Danny Glover wasn't great as Murtaugh. I think that's still possible. I think that's easier to achieve than what
Because
Mel
it's a
Gibson
straight
did.
man. It's
Yeah,
easier to achieve. Yeah.
but he's just miscast because he's not a straight man.
No, it's because they've cast him to add this forced comedy beats that don't particularly fit with the character, and
Yeah.
that's the biggest problem there. I think.
Yeah. I don't even think we need to go into spoilers all that much, unless you want to talk about how they solve the case and stuff.
Yeah.
That
Does
doesn't
it
matter.
does it matter?
Not really, to be honest.
I
There
felt
is a
like we
mo.
covered the idea of the show.
It's not the exact same, but there is a moment towards the end that it kind of felt like they were kind of borrowing from a scene from Speed. Have you
haven't
seen
seen
Speed?
Speed.
No,
No.
I've not seen Speed.
I've seen bits.
For anyone who's seen Speed, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. I'll just simply say pop quiz hot shot, and you'll probably get what thing I'm thinking of if you've seen Speed. But yeah, it was more fine than I was expecting, but at the same time, I have no interest in watching any more of it.
It's a far better compliment than we expected to give this.
It is. It is. Now, how The Exorcist will fare later in the week, how MacGyver will fare later in the week. Oh, to be fair with MacGyver, I've never seen MacGyver, so I don't have the baggage going into it like I did with this
No,
one.
but you've still got the knowledge of
Yeah.
everything MacGyver, like everyone does.
Yeah. I don't feel like I know that much about MacGyver, though. Beyond the making ridiculous, like, contraptions to... Do-
You've seen enough. There's been enough parodies and spoofs and stuff over the years that you get enough of an idea of what MacGyver is.
So, are you telling me that I should go and watch MacGruber to
I am not recommending it.
catch up before MacGyver starts?
I'm not recommending it. Although they should definitely throw Will Forte into the show. I would
Which
approve of
reminds
that.
me, I need to catch up on Last Man on Earth.
I could probably do something similar.
because it was actually, I wasn't completely sold in the first season of that, but it was getting good for the first chunk of season 2 that I seen, and then I just kind of
See, I
fell
didn't
behind.
quite finish season 1.
It did, but season 2 started off better. It was really kind of starting to feel like it was funny. Not to throw the season 1 under a bus, but
There was some good stuff in season 1, but
but no, Lethal Weapon is.
yeah,
I wouldn't even go as far as I'd go. It's okay.
yeah, it's all right. You know, like I said, if it's on, watch it. It's fine. You don't need to rush to turn the channel.
And
But
if you enjoy it, that's fair enough. But for me, all it did was make me want to watch the movie because I wanted to see Riggs and Murtaugh. I wanted to see Danny Glover and Mel Gibson play those roles.
definitely,
You know, and honestly, it's one of these things where, as I said at the start, the movie was written by Shane Black. And if you've seen The Nice Guys this year, which was written and directed by Shane Black, he does buddy cop movies like no one else. And I think without him on the script, there is like that edge to the wit is
I did
lost.
notice he had a co-writing credit, but I don't know if that's just because they're adapting from his original stuff,
Yeah, well,
or if he was actually involved in any sort.
There was also a credit that said based on a screenplay by
Yeah,
Shane
there was
Black.
there was 2 credits though. There was one that he had a co-writing credit and the based on a screenplay.
I don't know. Maybe they flew the pilot script past them. I don't see him having much involvement beyond.
It didn't feel like he'd had that much involvement.
Yeah,
It didn't have any of that sharp biting.
no, it didn't feel like a Shane Black script at all. So anyway, so that's Lethal Weapon. Check it out if you're interested, but it's definitely not. It's not one of the shows this season that you have to check out by any means. And if you're like me, if you're a fan of the movies, and I am a big fan of those movies, I feel like you're just going to be like, nah, I'd rather watch the movies again.
Yeah.
So, my only question actually, if I'm going to ponder ahead, is if I wonder if they'll ever add the Leo character, Joe Pesci's character,
Maybe season 2.
because he became one of the best parts of that franchise. Like he was great. Like that's who you have for comic relief. You have Joe Pesci.
That's the point. Is he necessary in this version? Like in this version?
Yeah, probably not.
That might be overkill at this point.
But I feel like this show would probably want overkill. Like I feel like that's what we're going
That is
for.
a very good. Do you know what? It'd be interesting to see how it goes over the season and see if it develops. I'm not going to watch it, but it would be interesting.
Yeah. So that's Lethal Weapon. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below, and like and subscribe and all that stuff. Helps us out a lot. Stay tuned to the channel, because as I said, we've got more pilots and more returning shows coming over the next few weeks, and indeed, in fact, all the way up to the end of October, we've got stuff like starting up again. So check that stuff out. Get us on Twitter at mild_fuzz, and yeah, keep watching TV, guys. We will see you next time.